Hello, I'm Rob.
Howdy, I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Rob and Rob. First off, an apology. Last week, we missed one. Oops, that's our systems not working as they should. But don't worry, we've got this and many more and many weeks worth to come. In fact, we got loads of questions coming in, so thank you so much. And if you don't know what this is because of the 1 week gap, to remind you, this is the show where you ask us a question and we answer them. Nice and simple. And if you've got your own question, get on the list because we'd love to hear from you.
Yep, plenty of people are asking their questions, but we still want more. We can't get enough property questions. It's really, really easy to do so. If you want to leave us a voicemail, just call 013 808 00035. That's 013 808 00035. You'll get to leave us a voicemail with your question. Or if you go to thepropertyhub.net/podcast, you can do the same by recording it into your computer. Either way, get your question over to us and we'll give you an answer. That is what Brian from Birmingham did this week. Let's listen to what he wants to ask.
Hi Rob and Rob, I'm Brian from Birmingham. I hope you're well. Basically, me and my partner are eager to invest into property. The plan is to flip properties first to build up the capital to then buy to let later on. We have saved up as much as possible towards the first property. However, we are still going to have to lend some money to make this possible. So my question to you is, where do I go to find investors that will lend us the remaining capital so we are able to then flip our first property? Thanks in advance, and I look forward to your reply.
Okay, so Brian's in a very common situation. He wants to get into buy-to-let, but first he needs to raise more capital, so he's looking to flip. Good strategy. We see a lot of people doing that. In order to do that flip, though, he's a little bit short on funds and he needs to get hold of some more. So what's the best way of doing that? Well, there are various ways. I don't know, Brian, if you've looked into the bridging finance route, but that is available to you. It is pricey and the fees can be quite hefty as well. But as long as you've done your numbers and there's enough profit in there after paying all the finance fees, as well as your refurb costs, your selling fees, stamp duty, and so on, then that's fine, and that solves your problem. You can get money cheaper if you go to private investors. So bridging rates, let's say it's around 10 to 12% a year plus fees. You'll be able to get it cheaper a lot of the time if you go to private investors, and they won't have the hefty setup and exit fees. However, you might struggle to go to these investors because, you know, it's your first time. And if I was going to be lending money to somebody, I'd want to see some kind of track record. So if you do want to try and find those investors, the best places to do it it's probably just by networking. And that's not a particularly easy answer. It's not like I'm going to say, go to this website where you get matched up with someone. It is a bit of trial and error. It is a bit of a slog. You can go to Property Hub meetups. There are plenty of other meetups you can go to. You can make yourself known on the Property Hub forum. Loads of stuff you can do, but you might struggle because of this track record point. So another option, which might be a little bit more likely to get you the result you want, is to go to people who are, let's say, not professional investors in the same way, but still are interested in property or interested in you. So if you've got family who you could get some money off and offer them a better return than they'll get in the bank, fantastic. That could work really well. Alternatively, there's colleagues. I've heard of people down the pub who've just met someone who wants to invest in property. And if that's something that they want to do, you can offer them a return of sort of around 8% or so. And you can convince them, you can show them all your numbers and the property in question and convince them that you know what you're doing. Then that can work too. Whatever you do though, make sure that you do get everything properly documented, because whether it's your mum, whether it's somebody you've met down the pub or somebody you've met at a networking event, you don't want that relationship to go sour if things don't go as planned. So lots of options open to you. It's just a case of which one you think you're best placed to take advantage of, and also how much you're willing to pay. If you're willing to pay the higher rates, that's the easiest option. But if you want to sort of come down the scale, then you're potentially going to have to put in a bit more legwork to find the money in the first place.
Potentially, Brian, you could start off with the finance, the arranged finance. Yes, you won't make as much profit, but then you'll have a track record, which will make it then easier to find those private investors who want to invest in you and the work you're doing, because you can show them how good you are. Remember, though, it's all about the numbers. Rob touched on it, but make sure you calculate every cost out possible, because it is expensive or can be expensive to finance property that way. So you've got to be confident in your deal and your ability to put that deal together to make sure you come out with the money that you want at the end. And that's just as important for when you move on to private investors, or if you start with them as well, because if you can't show them detailed numbers, you're probably not going to gain their confidence. So it's all about the numbers. Make sure you spend the time and effort there. If you're confident, then maybe look at bridging. Or if you've already got that ready-made network, speak to them, show them the numbers, and get them interested. Perfect. Okay, so thank you, Brian. Great question. Really appreciate it. Little heads up, we been mentioning in the property podcast recently that we're doing a summit in the north. We would love you to let us know where we should go. Sounds a bit odd, but we have never done a property summit, which is our mastermind, in the north before. They've all been in London. Boo. Well, at least we're putting that right. If you go to thepropertyhub.net/vote, that's thepropertyhub.net/vote, go there, select where we should hold the next summit, and the location with the most votes is where we'll go. As simple as that.
It really is. So if you've been waiting to come to a summit, but you don't want to travel to London, now is your chance to make sure we have it as close to you as possible. So go to thepropertyhub.net/vote. We will be back with the Property Podcast on Thursday, and I promise we will be back this time next Tuesday with another episode of Ask Rob and Rob. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.